Hi everybody, it's the Beretta guy coming to you from the basement. Today we're going to clean and lubricate our Glock 43. I recently uploaded a video on how to field strip and safety check the Glock 43. So this is the follow-up video on how to maintain it by cleaning and lubricating. So the first thing you want to do is always safety check the weapon, lock it back, the magazine's already out. Visually inspect that there's no bullet in the chamber and everything is clear. When that's done, for a striker fire gun, you have to pull the trigger, make sure it's in the safe direction, and pull the trigger. Pull your slide back a little bit, pull down on the tabs, and remove your slide. Remove your recoil spring and your barrel, and now you're field stripped. Okay, so here's what I use to clean all my guns. All right, I've got a standard cleaning kit. This is a deluxe cleaning kit from Outers. It's got everything you need: brushes, mops, jags, patches, the rods, the whole kit and caboodle. It'll do a whole host of guns. Rifles, shotguns, it'll do everything. So the first thing you want to pay attention to, and the dirtiest thing on the gun, is, let's start with the barrel. What I like to start with the barrel is using a good quality bore solvent. I've been using Hoppy's number 9 for a long time. It does a good job, and it will disintegrate any carbons and fouling and anything else. So all I do is wet down a patch with it on there, put it on a rod with a jag, and run it a few times through the barrel. Okay, right now my gun is clean, so you're not going to see a bunch of buildup. I should probably wait until later because I'm going to go to the range today, but this is how you do it anyway. So we'll run that through a few times. And once it's in there, then just take your barrel and set it aside and let that cleaner work while you're cleaning the rest of your gun. Take your patch and discard it. Okay, make sure you do this in a well-ventilated area, somewhere, you know, in a workshop or outside, because there are some harmful chemicals. And if your skin is sensitive, then make sure you wear some gloves or something to protect your skin. I'm a machinist. I'm used to these chemicals. I've been dying from it for a long time, so I'm not going to worry about it. All right. The next thing I use on my guns is a good quality CLP type cleaner. I use Safariland Break Free CLP. It's a cleaner, lubricant, and preservative. It's good stuff. Another cleaner I highly recommend is Ballistol. You'll see a lot of the old guys, a lot of guys on the YouTube videos use it. Really, really good stuff all the way around. Okay, so the first thing I do is I use a soft bristle brush on my Glocks. I spray a little bit of CLP on my brush just to get it moist, and I'll start with the frame. Now, your frame rails ride in the slide right here, 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 and here. So I pay attention and scrub those down. They shouldn't be terribly dirty, but they'll get some gunpowder residue on them and dirt and grime. I carry this gun, so it gets dirty. I'll also pay attention to some of the metal internals, such as the feed ramp area here, and right back here on the firing mechanism, the sear and the edge connector and the trigger bar. I'll just gradually and gently clean them. If you notice any buildup right there, you can always grab a bronze brush and really work that. You want that to be nice and clean. Okay, once you do that, set your frame aside. It's let the CLP do its job there too. And grab your slide. Now on your slide, you have rails on your slide, little grooves that go the length of the slide right down here and on this side as well. Okay, those rails that I cleaned on the frame run inside those grooves. So those grooves are very important to make sure they're clean. So I grab my brush with the CLP on it and I give them a good scrubbing. Okay. One important note is if you're using Ballistol or CLP, you kind of want to angle your frame downward so that everything drips towards the muzzle end of the slide. This keeps liquids and stuff from rolling into the channels, and you got your, let's see if I can get a view of it here. You have your breech face right down in there. That's where your firing pin lives. You really don't want to get stuff down in there. So by holding it this way, everything runs away from it. So give that a good scrubbing. It's important. That'll get a lot of buildup on it quickly. You can use your hang on here. You can use your bronze brush as well on that, and just give it a good cleaning. Okay. So now, once I do that, I like to grab a Q-tip and get just a little bit of CLP on the Q-tip, and I'll run this right down into the grooves and make sure that they're nice and clean. This will pick up any residual dirt that the brush couldn't get and pick it out of there. You see, it's, even though my gun's clean, it's still picking up residual dirts. And I'll go down these channels on the side here, paying attention to all the details, and just get every little thing I can get. Give the whole inside of the frame a good wiping down. Get in where your spring lives. Get inside here. And just generally give it a good cleaning. So once you're sure that that you've covered all the areas of your slide, then you're good to go. So now what I like to do is I like to grab a clean patch and go over everything and just kind of dry all the excess CLP and grit and stuff up. Making sure that I get down in those grooves again. And this, once again, will pull out all the residual dirt. Go over everything just like you did the Q-tip. Now, this won't completely dry out all the CLP, but it will take care of most of it, and it'll leave a protective coating on here. So if you're putting your gun away and storing it, or if you're carrying it, it'll protect it from rusting. So just go over all the areas and make sure it's all nice and cleaned off. Give it a visual inspection. Make sure it looks good. Sometimes I'll grab a clean Q-tip just to make sure, and I'll come down here into the striker channel and give it a quick rub. See if I pick up any gunpowder residue or anything like that, and just kind of check the nooks and crannies. And they all look pretty darn good. So I think our slide is satisfactorily clean right now. And once that's the case, you can set it down again and pick up your frame and kind of do the same thing. Take a Q-tip, get down here. There's room between the frame and the rail lug. You can get in there and scrub out anything that you see or don't see, for that fact. Get in there and do the same thing. Just kind of swirling this CLP product around. I like to take my time and put a lot of nice effort into cleaning my guns and be pretty meticulous with them. A clean gun will ensure that it works properly every time you squeeze that trigger, and you get to learn a lot about your guns while you're doing it. You understand more how they work. It's just, and it's relaxing. To me, it's very relaxing. Take the patch, just like you did on the slide. Do the same thing. Go over everything. Get down in there. Another good tool, which I don't have right now, is pipe cleaners. Pipe cleaners get down in all those little nooks and crannies and help it out. Alright, so I'll get down here too. Alright, now you really don't want to soak this with CLP or anything, you know, get down in there and soak that, because what happens is you can't get it out of there, and it will attract dirt and dust, and stuff will just go down in there, and it could come up the works later. So try to avoid that. A lot of new people do that, and it's just not really advised. Now, if you did a lot of shooting and you haven't been cleaning your guns after every time you shoot them, which shame on you, you may need to scrub a little harder, maybe with a little bit stiffer brush. So I always have a stiff nylon brush, and you can work that in there as well, and just go over all the parts, and that'll help break up anything that's really stuck on there. I never really need to do it, but it's okay. You can do it. If it's really tough, then use the bronze brush and do the same thing. All right, so the frame's done. Now, back to the barrel. The barrel, if you remember, we put the bore solvent, the Hobby's bore solvent through. That's something that you don't want to leave in there. It's very caustic. It will eventually eat out your barrel, metals and stuff. It ends up being corrosive. It does a great job on removing copper and lead fouling and gunpowder residue buildup, but it will also eventually eat other things. So what I tend to do is I will wet down a patch with CLP and get my jag out, and I'll run a patch through the barrel a few times. This will remove the solvent and lightly coat your barrel with lubricant. Now, you don't want puddles of lube in there or anything else. And once your barrel is clean, take a dry patch and run it through a few times. And if your patches come out clean without any brown stuff on them, you know for certain that you're nice and clean. Okay, now if you did a lot of shooting, once again, if you did a lot of shooting, or you've failed to clean your guns the way you should clean your guns, and you could take the brass brush. I don't ever use a steel brush. I always use a brass brush and go in there. Oops, Grabbed the wrong caliber. This is the caliber I want, I think. Nope. Next one up. This is the one. So you take your brass brush and you run it through, run it back out, run it back through. Now you can do this anyway. It won't hurt. You'll feel it twist in the rifling. If you don't know what rifling is, inside your barrel, there's little grooves in there. I don't think you'll be able to see them on the video here. But inside there is little grooves, and they twist, which allows your bullet to spin. Those are called rifling grooves. Okay. Now make sure when you when you do your brushing, you go from the muzzle end where the chamber is out. Don't ever go the other way. It can cause damage to the chamfer on the barrel. So it's just a good thing to do. Just run that through a few times, and then when you're done, put your jag back on. Take your CLP patch, run it through a couple times. And you see, you grab some stuff. Which I think that was from my brush being dirty. And then run your clean patch through, and keep running clean patches through until they come out nice and white. And then you're pretty much done. So I always take the extra CLP that's, you know, on residue on my fingers, and I lightly coat the entire barrel. Take my clean patch and just kind of check all the spots. Make sure everything's nice and cleaned off. Everything should be shiny. You want to pay particular attention to the back of your barrel here, the muzzle end by the chamber. Make sure that feed ramp is sparkly clean. If it's polished, it'll be a bright shiny metal. If not, then it'll be black oxide like that. Make sure there's nothing there. If it is, scrub it real good. Okay, so now comes the lubrication part. Let me clean up my mess. Put all my brushes away. Now, I want to get out my gun oil. I use Impro 7 gun oil LP. It's really, really, really good stuff. I used to use Hoppe's, which is good. And you can use Hoppe's number 9 gun oil. But I've really come to like this. There's a lot of good quality oils on the market. You can, in a pinch, use the CLP as a gun oil, but I don't recommend it. It's a little thin, and it doesn't stay on there as well as it should. Get a good quality gun oil. Okay. Glocks do not need a lot of oil, so you want to be very sparing. Just a drop on each one of these frame rails. I put one drop right here and one drop on the front of each of the female rails on those grooves. I use my finger to smear it down in there all the way back. I lightly coat this. I take one drop, I put it on the outside of the barrel and wipe the barrel down. This puts a protective coat on the barrel. Reassemble. Put your barrel in. Recoil spring assembly. your frame back on. Rack the slide a few times. That spreads the lubrication around real good. Check and make sure everything's feeding properly, and it is. Then I use my good old trusty gun towel and wipe the whole thing down. You may see some lubricant coming out your rails at the very end. That's normal. Just wipe it off. And now your Glock 43 pistol is clean, lubricated, and ready for service. Thanks for watching.